Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kay, and I'm here today with energy healer, Sivan Dannon. Welcome back. Sivan was already on an episode recently, so yeah, she's back for more.
I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait for today's topic.
Yeah. So guys, this is super organic because it's just happened this morning. I drove here with a certain energy. Speaking of energies, I've had this energy from this morning. Okay. I'm a mother of three. I have a 14-year-old son, and he just started freshman year in high school. And I dropped my twin girls off at the bus. And then usually my son Bodie catches the bus or he rides his bike, but he's like, Mom, can I catch a ride? So whenever he catches a ride in the car, it's like this one-on-one time that I get with my 14-year-old son, which is, it's kind of getting more and more rare these days that we can just like sit and talk. And I take the opportunity to kind of like, not like fire him up or give him like, I don't know, to give him these like motivational pep talks. And I know he doesn't want to hear that first thing in the morning. He's tired. But this morning, we were up late last night. He's trying out for travel soccer. And I'm going to admit right now, like, I'm not excited about it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not like, and this is only because of the fact that like, it's a huge commitment from a parent standpoint. It's a lot of traveling and stuff. And his practice didn't even end till 9:30 last night. And it's like, I'm exhausted. I'm staying up to go pick him up. Then he comes home and like the whole night ends late. So anyway, I'm letting him, I don't even think he made the team yet. We're driving to school. And I said to him, are you sure you want to do this? Like, this is a big commitment. Like, we've got to be traveling around. We've got to be like really committed to, this is a lot of hours. This is a lot of stuff, your practice. So, and practice is like 4 or 5 nights a week and it goes till 9:30. And so then I said to him, so he says to me, oh yeah, well, we have practice Friday night, but I don't even think I'm going to go. Like, and I was like, what do you mean you don't think you're going to go? You've practiced? Like, and then he goes, well, I think it's, I'm just going to take it as a rest day. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, all of a sudden, like I felt my face getting red and I'm like, rest day? You committed to a team and they have a practice and like, not for nothing, Bodie, you're not going above and beyond. Like you don't, I even said to him on the ride to school, I'd love to set you up on a weight training program, like 30 minutes, like you need to like strength train for soccer. I want you to start conditioning and running more. And then he says to me, and then as soon as I said that, he goes, well, a Saturday morning, like we practice at 11:30, so I really can't do a workout. And I'm like, you can't wake up early and get in a 30-minute workout before that I write on the board for you? And all of a sudden, like the excuses, the lazy, like all this stuff starts coming out of my 14-year-old. And I'm thinking like, so I'm supposed to put my life aside, like to travel all over, like Tampa, Orlando, like all these tournaments because you want to play in this and you won't even put in the extra effort to like condition and weight train. And like he's eating a thing of Pringles for breakfast, which was like curdling my blood. Like I make everybody oatmeal and like fruit and he doesn't touch it. No, he goes and like grabs crap. And it's just like, I'm like, is this what it is? I mean, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I said to him, is this like, you think that's how champions are made? Like that's, and I said, how many runs have you done? Like how much prep have you done to like be on this team, to be like a great soccer player? And he goes, well, I just got home from summer camp. And I was like, 6 weeks ago, Bodie, you got home from summer camp 6 weeks ago. Like, what do you mean? You can't take a 1 mile run or condition? So I'm just like, yo, and I'm in a bad mood. And then he goes, you don't know anything about soccer. I'm like, you're right. I wasn't a soccer player. I was a tennis player, but I understand athletes and I understand like if you want me to make a commitment, like I need to see effort from you. I need to see that this means something to you. So he's like, yeah, whatever. And then he gets out of the car, slams the door and he's like off. Now, I don't usually like leaving things with my kids that way. Like in the morning, I always want it to be like, bye, sweetie, have a great day at school. So my energy already was like really like, I'm fired up, I'm angry. I sent his father, who were divorced, like this scathing text being like, really, like, this is how it's gonna be? Like, if you think I'm traveling all over with a kid whose work ethic is like crap, and like he doesn't want to put in the time. He gives me excuses, like, and you think I'm going to take time out of my busy schedule and time away from my girls and drag the twins and I'm like, you got another thing coming. Like you can do it if that's what you think. And so I was so fired up this morning. And I'm a single mom now. I do have a boyfriend who is around and very, very big in our life for the last 4 years, but I'm parenting on my own now when I'm with my kids. And so we've spoken a lot about this feminine energy thing and feminine energy, masculine energy, like all this stuff, and how we come back into our feminine energy. And I'm like, I don't even understand, because, and I don't know if this is feminine energy or what this is, but like, I came from a family. I know you met my mom last week. My mom built a company, her empire, her wealth from nothing. Okay. My parents worked very hard. I got to see the hustle. I got to see the struggle. I got to watch them build a really big company. And my thing in life was that, like, I didn't want to be looked at like things came easy to me and that everything was handed to me, and that I'm just, it's like, oh, her parents made a lot of money, so now it's just like easy for her. Like, I wanted to feel like I'm a contributing person to the world. Like I have a story. I want to tell it. I want to help other people. I don't want to feel like I sat back and like I got an easy job at my parents' company and I make a big paycheck and like I'm just like cruising through life. And I wanted to feel like no matter what I inherit in the future, whether I become, one day their big companies pass down to me, or I come into wealth because of my family, because of my parents, I want to make sure that like I earned it, I deserve it, like I worked my ass off in my own right, and nobody can say like, oh, that was just because, like, and so I started my own brand, or like I got into fitness because it's like nobody can take the credit for you. Like, either you put in the work, you get fit. Like, your parents can definitely like set you on the right path and give you the tools. Because I said to Bodie, I put a turf in the backyard for you to practice soccer. I got you little goals. You have cardio machines. You've got a gym in our garage. You can set your kids up the best you can as a parent. But if they don't have that work ethic, if they don't have that fire, if they don't have that passion, if they're not like they don't want it. Like, I want it. Like, my parents, yeah, they could buy me the fancy car. They could do all the stuff, send me to fancy schools, do all that. But like, I am in charge of my life and like what I accomplish and like where I put myself. And like, they can't hand it to me. Nobody can hand you your fitness. Nobody can hand you a successful business. I mean, some people are handed businesses and they drive them into the ground. They say it takes one generation to build it, another one to destroy it, if they don't know what they're doing. So with me, like, my energy from a young age was like, okay, my parents were really successful, but now like I want to be successful too. And like, I'm driven and like, I want to spend every day performing at this like high level, accomplishing a lot. I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, wow, that's Mickey's daughter. Like, she just like whatever, like, or she's a trust fund kid, or, or like, oh yeah, she did. No, I wanted to be like, damn, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Like, that's what I wanted. And so now it's like, I have been trying to lead by example for my kids. Like, I have been hustling since literally they were born. Like, they've seen me grow devotion from it being nothing. And they've helped me, and they work and they watch me and they see what I do. They see me do my fitness day in and day out, and I'm working and I'm training, and how I keep our homes, and how everything, like the level of my life and like what I want to show my kids. And so when I don't see my kids performing at that level or wanting it or having that fire, it like freaks me out, because I'm like it's like, no, like I can't, that entitlement, that thing. And I'm not saying that my kids are there. I'm just saying stuff like that comes out every now and then with them. And I'm like, it's not okay. And with my marriage and with my mother's marriage to my father, there were unbalances as well, because my mom was so freaking driven and such a Wonder Woman, and she did it all. And I do feel I saw the imbalance in my parents' relationship, and in my marriage, I also, like, I wasn't going to slow down, like, for my ex-husband to feel like comfortable, or, like, you know what I mean? We've had this discussion. So this is where it's all now coming to, where I want to, like, bring you now into it, because this was like a little background of how I'm feeling about this feminine energy in the household, and how I think a lot of women battle as mothers, like, trying to raise, like, strong, independent children, because I think that's our job. In, like, it's a really big job that we're not, you know, some mothers, it's like they mother a little too much, and then you're sending your kid out into the world and they're like
Lost.
Yeah. And and my boyfriend always comments how kids these days are so soft, and I'm like, you know, and it's like, okay, I get it. As a mother, it's like my heart, it, like, bleeds for these children, and I, like, want to protect them. But then again, like, if I do it too much, you know, what am I sending out into the world? So, and then also in a relationship, how do you scale yourself back to go into this feminine energy? And what would you describe as this feminine energy that I keep talking about? How would you, I'm now going to pull you into this, because this is where you and I get, like, hot and heavy with this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, for a while when people would ask me, what makes you feel feminine? You know, I assumed putting on makeup and high heels and dressing up was feminine energy, but it's really just on the outside. It really had nothing to do with being in touch with my feminine energy. And it really wasn't until this past year, I would say, that I could pinpoint it and say, you know what, I feel like I'm in my feminine energy. At first it was, you know, the superficial stuff, right? Oh, yoga makes me feel a little bit feminine, I guess, right? Because you're still unsure. If you're not familiar with it, you're still unsure. I didn't have a mom that showed and represented feminine energy. She was a hustler. She was always on the grind. She came here from another country. She worked 4 jobs, and she was go, go, go all the time. And I never saw a balanced marriage. I never saw a balanced...
That's where you and I have a lot in common.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
It was, you know, my father was very masculine, but he was very, very old fashioned too. And my mom also, like, but I watched my mom, similar to your mom, never an excuses, just get it done.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know the trade, you do it, and then you learn. And that's how I was raised, just watching this very strong woman just handling everything a man can do and everything the woman is supposed to do.
Yes.
But not being in her feminine energy. So she did cook and she did clean and she took care of us, but it was not in her feminine energy. She is still very much in her masculine energy because she was never taught. You know, we get raised by this, and we don't have representation. We don't have a role model. We don't have a mentor that says, this is how you're supposed to be feminine, and this is how you're supposed to be masculine. Here's the balance. We weren't taught that. And then it's confusing in today's society, because as women, we're told, like, go after your dreams. Like, you can do anything a man can do. Right.
And, like, you're supposed to be able to do it all. And you can be a mom, and you could be a business owner, and you could be a firefighter, and you could be a whatever you want, a doctor and a lawyer. And, like, it's like, whoa, And so you're thinking, like, well, then I got to step it up and rise up and go after it all.
All of that is true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you and I didn't live through the whole feminism movement, right? We didn't know what it was like to not have those rights, to not be able to vote, to not be able to work, and for equal pay. We kind of just grew up with it being available to us. But at the same time, the feminine movement did have its pros, right? Because now women could pursue their dreams. They had an idea, they can create from that idea and really tap into their creativity. But at the same time, once we stepped into that role of working and building a business and, fighting and, equal rights, we really started stepping into a very masculine role, which pulled us away from our feminine role, right? Because we're mothers, we're nurturers, we're the home keepers, we're the ones that keep the home together in a sense. And we're the ones that raise our children. Back in the day, that's what we did. The men went out and hunted. They brought the food, and the women held down the villages. They took care of the children and they took care of the food, and everybody had their roles. And once these roles started crossing over each other, it got mixed up. And now you don't even know really what is the true role, because we've been brought up to work. And, now we talk about the modern woman too, right? Because now we don't have the luxury. Most people don't have the luxury of living off of one income. Now people really do need both incomes. So then how do we create balance? How do we bring it back into a state where we still can be the modern day woman, but still live in our feminine energy, the yin and the yang, right? To be able to have the masculine and the feminine, to have both, but have it equally.
And where every relationship is different, obviously, but I do find that so many of us women are like for instance, even in the courting, or like when you're dating someone, or when you're married and you're you have to keep that spark alive. So often the women, if the man doesn't like take the ball, and he doesn't plan the date night, and he isn't like constantly continuing to court like the woman and like keep that romance, or like make her feel a certain way. A lot of times the women feel, and look, I'm just speaking in generalization. I'm even talking about, my past relationships or friends who I speak to, where they're like, okay, then I'll make the dinner reservations, and I'll make the plans with the other friends, or I'll figure out what we're doing. And, oh, we're going on a trip. Like, I'll book the hotel. I'll get the reservations at the thing. Like, the woman all of a sudden, again, takes on the whole responsibility of planning the whole thing. But then the woman kind of like looks at the man, like resents him a little bit, being like, wait a second, you're supposed to be taking me out. Like, I'm supposed to be going to get dressed up and looking beautiful for you, and you take me out and surprise me with the dinner. Like, so much of that, like the women now, it's like they have to like create their whole romantic scenario. And I don't know if that sometimes women, either you're waiting for the man to do it, he doesn't do it, so you're like, screw this, I'm just going to do it myself, damn it. But then it like kind of chips away over time when the woman feels like, okay.
But at the same time, are we even allowing the man to step into that role?
Right. Are we being impatient? But then again, did we wait long enough?
But from the beginning of our relationships, if we've been in this heavy masculine energy, they've never had the opportunity to step into that role because we've never opened up that pathway for them.
Right.
And if they were also raised similar to us, where the women and, their mother and their father both worked, they also never really had a model to say, okay, this is what the mother does, this is what the wife does, and this is the role of a man. And none of these roles are, in concrete, right? It's not like it has to be, but we never really had that to show us, to represent, okay, here's opening up like chivalry, right?
Yep.
It's like almost dead.
But it's like shouldn't be, because it's so important. And I learned that through my first marriage, and then now, being in this like 4-year relationship after my marriage, I was like, I need to feel taken care of. I need to feel like I am still being courted all the time. Like I can't get comfortable. It's like, that's very scary to me. If you suddenly you get in a relationship and then you just get comfortable and it gets boring, because then it's like, okay, or it just gets like predictable. I was like, okay, Dana, this is not going to happen this time. And like, I make sure that in my relationship, like when we travel, he books the flights, he books the hotels, he's paying for, like, he's figuring out the restaurants, he's paying for everything. And it might seem so stupid, like, oh, whether she pays, he pays. It's a big deal to me. Mm. It's a big deal to me. It's like, no, I don't want to be going into my wallet, my pocket. Like I bring so much to the table, and it's not like really about the money. It's not about the money. Like, I could pay for every single dinner and he could pay for every single, it's not what it is. It's more like I'm sitting back at the table and like he's taking care of the check, and he's going to get the car from the valet, and he's doing like all the things. And I feel very feminine, and I feel taken care of, and I feel like I don't need to be like walking up to the valet, hey, can I get my car? Hey, can I, like, doing all the things. Like, I get to just relax and feel like this man, it's like he's cherishing me. He's taking care of all the details. Like, he's handling it. And like, I don't even have to worry about what I'm bringing in my purse, because he's got the money, and he's got, and where are we going? Like, he's got our tickets, he's got everything. And like, I just needed that. I didn't want to constantly be like, I'm the mom to everyone. I feel like it was like, I didn't get married to have,
an extra child,
5 kids, right? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Or 4 kids. Like, I wanted to be with a man. And my ex-husband came from a situation where he was taking care of his grandmother, who was like 91 when she passed when we met. And his mother had passed away when she was young, and all these different things. And so when we got into our marriage, he was like kind of just like sitting back, like letting me take care of everything and letting me do everything. And I remember one day I was like, in the kitchen. I'm cooking alone. We didn't have babies yet. We were just like, you know, it was just the two of us. And like, he's in the living room watching TV and I'm in the kitchen by myself. And I finally like said to him, like, it was like night after night after night. And I was like, why don't you ever come in and like cook with me? Or like, why don't you ever like come help me do the laundry? Like, here I am, like doing all our laundry, and he's like, well, I was really excited to just be taken care of now. Like, I've been taking care of like my grandma. And now I was just hoping that you would be taken. And I was like, okay, that's not how this is. I don't know. Like, I'm not dating you so I could just like take care of you like you're my child. Like, and yes, I'm the woman, but like, I'd like us to be doing like things together, or I'd like you to say like, hey babe, I'm gonna fire up the grill and like I'll throw on the steaks tonight, or like I'll go pick up the food and like you can be working together. There's also like where it just gets so out of balance where the woman is like,
there's a big separation,
hey.
right? And also I think that men haven't really made women feel safe to be in their feminine energy. We're natural survivors. You know, they always say the mama bear comes out, right? Because we're not meant to go to war, you know, but if someone messes with one of our children, you better believe we are coming out full force, mama bear. Like if you just don't want to mess with a child that, you know,
right.
You just
I know
don't.
Animals, like mothers are always protective of their like nests and they're like,
so
absolutely.
It's in us.
Yes.
Right? We have this warrior ability in us. We're natural survivors. If something, you know, doesn't work out, we will make it. We will make something out of that and we will survive whatever situation is thrown at us.
Yeah.
These single moms, you look at them and you have to take off your hat because you're like, look, she's hustling, she's working, she still finds time to cook, she still is taking care of the kids, sitting down doing homework, because we have this natural ability to multitask and to survive. Does that mean that we want to? No, it means we have no choice but to be in that role. So for a man to be able to step in, his masculine energy needs to be so strong that the woman feels so safe to step back and allow him to step forward. But if she doesn't feel that from him, she's going to continue in that survival mode. Yeah. I mean, that's just my opinion.
No, I think you're 100% right, because there was a time when last year that Bodhi overslept for school. I was so upset and I contacted his father, and his dad actually showed up at my front door. I let him in. He marched up the stairs. He ripped Bodhi out of bed. He was like in his face, like, this is not how we act. And this is, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for stepping in. And like, my son needs a bull. Like, with elephants, they said that, so there was a study, and I watched this on a National Geographic or something, where there were these wild elephants. They were like teenage boy aged elephants. They were younger male elephants, and they were running rampant through these African villages, and they were destroying the village. And they were like, how are we going to stop these elephants? They're like really hurting the villagers. They're like acting crazy like wild teenage boys. All they did was release bulls, male bulls, into the village. And these boys fell into place. These big males came in and were like, yo. And the younger elephants stopped what they were doing. The older males had their tusk, and they were like, this is not how we act. It was like the craziest. I mean, it gave me chills, because elephants are very intelligent, and they say they're one of the closest to human
and emotional.
Yeah. But I needed that bull. I needed his father, because Bodhi looks at me and laughs, because I'm his mom and I'm trying to be rough and tough, and I'm trying to, and I know there were people who were raised by moms that they were scared of, and I was certainly scared of my mom, but Bodhi has this energy that he's like, you can't F with me. You can't, he thinks he's 14 and whatever. It wasn't going to work with me, but his father coming in like that elephant bull, pulling him out of bed, the sheer shock of Bodhi, and he's standing there and he's like, hi, Dad. And he is in his son's face, and then he's like, you're going to be in the car in 5 minutes. Brush your teeth, wash your face, and get the hell out. And I was just like, yes. And it just put me back into yay, I can stand here and I'm right now being taken care of. And thank you for stepping in. You don't have to be Disney dad. You don't have to be his best friend. I'm not trying to be his best friend. We're trying to raise a man here. Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to raise women and men who are going to add to society in whatever way. I want them to have strong work ethics. I want them to feel like they are somebody doing something. you know? And so, yeah. And that male energy that his dad brought that day was the type of energy sometimes that that we need from men, right? That fired me up that day. I was like,
even
yes.
though it was with your son, it still stepped into a very masculine role. Because I mean, you hear stories of other fathers that, take on more of the mother role of the nurturing, and then it's the wife that has to be the disciplinary.
Right.
And
yep. Oh, for sure.
So it's like mixed signals, right?
Yeah.
You can be at all, but there needs to be a balance, and especially with women now who are going after their goals and their dreams and building businesses and taking care of their bodies, taking care of their children and their spouses and their home, and they're financially contributing. They still need to find time for themselves. And I don't discount working out, because I work out every day and I take care of my physical body, but mind, body, and soul. There's a reason why there's that those three words put together all the time. You can't be physically fit and then be spiritually unbalanced.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. You can look at the most successful CEO of a company who has all these beautiful cars and beautiful homes around the world, and we assume that they're in a good place, but they're crumbling inside because they don't have balance.
Yeah.
And the whole idea about, our talk is to help women find time for themselves, not just physically, because working out is an important aspect of balance, but taking care of themselves internally.
Yeah.
Learning to feel. And I wanted to actually bring this up when you were talking about Brody and the situation that you were feeling, this energy this morning. Mm-hmm. Have you ever just kind of sat with your feelings and your emotions without any distractions? Just sit with it. Have you ever tried that method?
Yeah, I have. I've been working on doing that. So I used to go through something, and have something happen to me, and then I would just be ready to take action, and I would be ready to, ready to rebuttal, or ready to whatever react, and something like that would happen, and now I sit with the things, and I figure out how is this. I just kind of think about it. I don't know. I just don't react. I don't do anything. I stay calm. And that's something that I just recently started doing. Yeah. Because my ex-husband actually used to say, oh, you shoot at the hip. You shoot at the hip. Mm-hmm. Something will happen and I'm boom. And I just want to oh, really? And just shoot back. And not that I'm some maniac, that's whatever. But if something happens that rubs me the wrong way, now I'll sit and I will kind of just think about it before I think how do I want it? Do I want to retaliate? What do I want to do about that?
If you sit with something long enough, something will come to the surface that you didn't know what was there, that was there. I used to really have a hard time feeling sadness and certain emotions, because I grew up in a very tough Middle Eastern home, and showing emotions was not really something I saw. I never saw my mom really cry or feel sadness. I never saw my father. I never saw anything but real tension in the home. So that's all I really knew. And I guess at some point growing up, something must have shut down where maybe feeling sadness was a vulnerability, a weakness that I perceived. And I just didn't want to feel it. And doing the work that I've been doing for the last few years and really trying to remove these layers, these barriers, these traumas, the emotions that might be stuck within me, I'm noticing that when I've sat long enough in silence with my eyes closed, when I thought I was angry, and the best example that I can give you is one of my children, I would automatically shoot from the hip and get really angry and just want to scream at her and I was just really mad.
Yeah.
And when I went to my room one night after having a disagreement with her and I was feeling really angry, which I thought was anger. But when I closed my eyes in the dark and I sat and I allowed that feeling to work its way through my body, and I put all my awareness into the sensations of where I was feeling it in my body. I went through the stages, right?
Right.
Okay, what am I feeling? Where do I feel it? Is it in my chest, in my shoulder, my elbow? Because we can store emotions in any part of our body.
Yeah.
Is it in my right ovary or wherever it is? Okay. If I look more into that with my eyes closed, does that sensation, how does it feel? Does it feel sharp? Does it feel pressure? Does it feel like tension? You know, like a knife stabbing? I would name it. And the more I asked questions about this feeling, the more it would unravel. And then I would say, okay, is there a color? So I would try to look into that area. So whatever part of my body, I would close my eyes and I would say, okay, what do I see? Okay, it's in my upper right chest. And then, okay, it feels like it's a dark purple and it has a shape of like a rock and there's like all these rough edges. And the more I went in and then I just started crying. The more questions I asked, I was breaking the surface of what I thought. And I realized in that particular moment that it was not anger that I was feeling towards my daughter. It was sadness. And I had not been in touch with that emotion for the majority of my life. So I had this like epiphany that this whole time I've been using anger as a mask for sadness because I was not ready to feel.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So even at I had a sibling that passed away and my father passed away. And I remember being there and not able to cry.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's deep. Like I just thought something was wrong with me. And then everybody would say, well, everybody mourns differently. And
oh my God, I cry like if I cry over everything. Like I'm such a crier. Like in fact, like my mom and I we're such crybabies. Like I'm like overly in second grade, my teacher called me tissue paper feelings. Like I would cry and I still can. I can get emotional talking about something like that. So that's like for me to think about not being able to cry.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Because what I
it's
do
not
is
a blessing.
like I put all of a sudden, I can almost feel the emotion of what I'm feeling inside. If, even if I don't know somebody and they just went through a loss or they whatever, I can almost feel what they're feeling and I can feel it in my throat and I can start to cry. Like if I even start talking about a topic that like just pulls at my heart, I start to cry. Like we're a very emotional family. Like my aunt's that way. Like we are just very emotional and I can put myself in somebody else's shoes very easily. So
you could also be very highly empathic as well.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in tune with other people's emotions.
Yes.
You just have to be really careful to know that those aren't yours. Yeah. So, if you're absorbing somebody else's emotions, just say to yourself, okay, this is not mine. It doesn't belong to me. And I give it back. So that you're protecting your own energy because you don't want to carry that sadness or I know we're like drifting off. Yeah.
Anger.
It's not yours to carry. It's not your burden. So you give it back energetically and really with the intention of saying, this doesn't belong to me. I'm giving it back, but I wish you well and I'm sending you love. And, you just gratitude for showing you, but then you let it go.
Yeah.
I know we kind of jumped all over the place.
No, but that is an interesting thing because I can really like hold on to some sadness or some energy, like, and it will like carry throughout the day, and then it will affect the way that even I am with my kids or when they get home. Like if it's something I was like up on a high, and then something brought me to like this other place, and now I'm feeling, and
it might not even been your energy,
right?
But I will tell you now that I've gone through this process, and I'm still going through it. Healing never ends. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're a monk in the mountains, it never ends. You're constantly removing and rebalancing and releasing things. And
sure.
It doesn't end. The journey is just a continuation. But I will say that once I learned to tap into all of my emotions, I started changing. My facial expression started changing. My posture started changing. I'm less hardened, like. Oh,
I feel that. I can understand that.
My face, I didn't have like this mean face. And even though I never thought I was being mean or angry, or it was just my resting face, and I feel softer and I feel lighter. I feel more joy. And it's unbelievable that how important it is to feel all, and this goes back to the feminine energy, right? Like it all circles right back.
Yep.
But once you start really tapping into all of your emotions, it gets you back into a feminine state, which creates balance back within yourself. Mm-hmm. Now you can really feel the other side of that spectrum. So I was able to feel sadness. And that was just one example, but I've been able to really accept and feel. But on the flip side, now I'm able to really feel what joy is, what bliss is, which I just thought it was all the same. Bliss and joy and happiness was all the same level. It is not.
No.
There are levels of happiness. There are levels of joy. There are levels of bliss. And when you reach that, you're like, okay, I really had to go through that and understand this emotion to understand the other side of it.
So
kind of like the black and white.
Do you think, so going back to feminine energy in relationships, so I feel very different because the relationship that I'm in now, I find myself a lot of times back into a feminine energy. The man who I'm with now is a very high performer. He is, I don't know, this sounds weird, like better than me, meaning like his level of like athleticism, his level, like he's got an incredible drive in his business, in his, discipline, in so much about him that like I feel now that like I'm kind of like, I'm put back down into my place where he does handle things and take care of things and step in and do the things. Like he did put me back. So like I now feel more at ease, and I do feel more in my feminine energy than I ever have before. And it's also changed me, where you said like it has softened me. It has calmed me down. I feel very taken care of. I do feel that like, no matter what, like and it's so weird, but not that we're competitive, but like he can outperform me. He's stronger than me, like in every way. So like so it's like I look up to him. And even though like he's 6 years younger than me, but it's just like with our energies, like whatever, it's just that like there's just something more balancing in our relationship. And I feel like I'm in the right relationship. Now, you and I spoke about in like when, after the last episode, how sometimes when a woman is just feeling like she's just doing everything and she's everything. And then even with like compatibility in the bedroom, it's like, what were we talking about where we were saying, and then we said, well, then they're just not right together. We were saying
the frequencies, the vibration. If two people are just on two completely vibrational levels, they're not a match.
Like different levels.
Different levels vibrationally. You walk into a room and you're naturally drawn to certain people that you want to talk to. And there's some people who are like, I don't even want to be in their energetic field, because there's a vibration that comes off of each person. We all have it.
Right. And does it feel like, so how do you know that it's that it just feels forced, where like
if you're forcing it,
so with my relationship now, it's like so natural and easy. And like, I'm, I don't have to be the aggressor, and I don't have, it's like,
you don't have to be the alpha.
Right.
Yeah. But do you think that could have been possible if he never created that safe environment for you?
No, he set that tone from the beginning. And I also sat back and said, you know what? Like, I'm not trying to create anything. Like I wasn't in this desperate state where I was like, like I have to find someone, I have to whatever. And I wasn't trying to create something. A lot of women also, it's like they want to create this like picture of what they want. They want that white picket fence picture, or they want that like whatever it is. So then they're going after what they want. But then it's like, they're kind of like putting like a square into a peg into, what is that? A square peg into a round hole. Something or whatever. Like that, yeah. So you're like trying to make it work. Like where sometimes women try to like fix a man or change a man or like whatever, all those things that we hear. And it's like, but then then everyone's like, oh yeah, I was real shocked that didn't work. Because it's like, because it wasn't just like a natural thing. Like I don't have to try to change Greg. Like I love everything about him. There's nothing I want to change. Like we started on such grounds where it was like, I just wanted him to be him, and I wanted to accept him for him and what he was bringing to the table. Not, okay, I'm going to start dating him. Now I'm going to change everything about him. And try to make him into the man I want him to be. No, that's how he get. Like, there's so many times in my life I wanted to just like, and I know his parents very well, and I want to like reach out to his mom, Carol, and be like, you did such a good job. Like, he's such a good man. Like, I'm so impressed all the time because I'm always pinching myself like, wow, like I have such a good man. And he just knows how to do what he needs to do to make me feel like, oh, like I'm taken care of. I'm in the right spot. I'm in with the right person. We just fit. And it's not like I'm like begging him to do something or be something. Like it just works. And it's a really good feeling. And when it doesn't feel forced or that the woman is constantly trying to like make it work, you shouldn't have to like do you believe in that? Like if you're with the right person, right? You shouldn't be like, we're working on it. We're trying to make it work. We're going to therapy. We're trying to make it work. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds fucking exhausting. Like, what do you mean you're trying to make it work? Like, I want to be with my best friend who I adore and love. It's like, I don't want to get sick of you. I want to have, like, I'm supposed to grow old with you. We could live until we're 100.
You'll know when you're with somebody who's at the same vibration or higher than you.
Yeah.
Because it won't feel like work.
Right. It doesn't feel like work.
You'll feel more in your comfort zone, more in your feminine energy, balanced out with the masculine energy, and it just feels good.
Yeah.
Then you know. If you're constantly stepping into the other role, then you know that there's something, there. There's a resistance, and it could be your own intuition, and you're forcing something that, maybe it's just not the match. And I'm not encouraging anybody not to go to therapy. I think therapy, I think all of those things are important because people go through roller coasters, people go through different traumas and try, every means possible. But if it continues to be like an uphill battle,
that's what I mean. I mean, of course, look, everything takes work, and I'm not saying things don't happen within relationships, and then you hit, like Greg and I get hit things that we have to work through. Fine, I get it. I'm not talking about, this is not about being perfection or whatever, but you also have to know, like when I got to the point of, I went through a divorce and I was married for 10 years, we were going to therapy, and I was just like, I don't see these things. Like, you're not going to change, and I'm not going to change, and I'm not going to try to change you. I can't change somebody's work ethic or your passions or, whether we want to travel or not together or, all these things that should you should just feel right? You shouldn't be trying to
it shouldn't be such an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah. So feminine energy is I feel like is extremely important no matter how powerful of a woman, because I know that even with my mom, she has craved that, just being in her feminine energy, because she's so she's so powerful. She's so capable and accomplished and all those things that I know even with the man she's with now, he is, a very confident, awesome, strong man, and he's very capable. And so she feels at ease being with a man who she can sit back and be like, thank you for taking care of this stuff. I don't want to constantly have to be handling every single thing.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, if we have been brought up in this role of having everything and doing everything and being everything, and wearing all these hats, think about, we could go back to the first sound healing that you came, right? Like, this is how it all started. You came to my sound healing and you had a hard time. You were able to bring it back into your senses and try to be more present, but you had your daily things that you had to do and your mind was going. And that's what started this whole conversation. How do we create balance for a modern day woman who is doing so many different things? And, finding the time and the space to do that, whether it's once a week or, doing the 2-minute breath work in the morning, in the afternoon, and creating balance. But the thing is that if we've had, whatever age you're at, if you had your entire life to create these programs to be this person that you're supposed to be, you could do equal things as a man can do. You could do everything and you could do it better. And you could go into the job field and you could become a CEO and you can run this company and you can create your own product and you can, have multiple stores, whatever it is. And you can have, you could still be a homeschool mom, and you can do all of these things and above and beyond, right? Which we're capable of doing, but it throws us out of whack. And we've been programmed that we can do it and we will do it, and it throws off our feminine energy. And so we have to give ourselves grace that when we do start this process, when we do start the work to try to get ourselves, it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Don't expect 40 something years of you hustling and grinding your entire life, handling everything from the house to the work to the lawn to whatever it is. Don't expect 40 something years or however old you are for it to be a miracle. And you do one energy healing, you do one sound healing, you go to acupuncture, whatever you're deciding to try. Don't expect it all to be erased when you've had 40 something years to
it takes work.
And
it's so funny. It takes work. It brings me back to where we started the conversation with me coming down on Bodhi being like, this takes work. You think you're just going to show up and be on a team and you're not going to put in the work. You're not going to show up to practice. You're not going to put in the work, the time that it takes to be a really good athlete or to be good at something or whatever. If I want to be good at coming back into my feminine energy, it's going to take me work.
Yeah.
And which we're going to be working together. You and I just signed up to do some sessions with you and to work on that because I'm improving my body obviously is something important to me, but in my mind, all of those things, bringing it all together, mind, body, and soul. Yeah. And really that's when you find that like beautiful spot where you feel like you've got all the pillars, and then it's almost like if you vision like you want to be a strong house, you've got all your pillars. You can't just have like a couple pillars and then the house is like oh yeah, she's got a great body, but like she's a freaking mental case.
Yeah. And you know what happens too is when you start doing this work and you start doing the healing path for yourself or for anybody, is that all of a sudden you start noticing little signs along the way.
Yeah.
Like little synchronicities here and there. There's something that's showing, but that's weird that this person just called me. I haven't spoken to them in 10 years and I just thought about them last night. So that's kind of crazy because you're opening up this energetic pathway. You're removing these barriers that have blocked you from receiving, all because you're coming back into balance,
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm going to keep everybody posted on how it's going with my energy healing and the work that we're going to be doing. And I'm going to do some privates with like the sound and so we'll come back.
Code stuff.
Yes. And we'll come back and we'll report on it. And we've got so many more conversations that we're going to be had. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you so much again for being here, Savon.
It's
always so fun.
Always.
And guys, we'll see you next time on Until It's Done, a Devoted podcast.